A strong cold front is working its way across the country this morning, and behind it is an air mass that has staying power. Below average temperatures is going to dominate the central to eastern U.S. Really for the foreseeable future. So here to discuss this pattern change, we'll talk about how long it could potentially last, how low will the temperatures get for your neck of the woods. We'll get very detailed. After that, we will give you some updated information on the tropics. Continue to watch a couple areas, but nothing too alarming at all out there. So I'll get that on out there right off the dot. We'll talk about today's weather, and then we'll round the video off with a Bible devotion if you want to join us for that. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. I hope you guys are doing well and having a wonderful start to your new week. Right here is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. And listen, one thing that I keep seeing with this is that we keep extending below average temperature chances further and further out, which is good news if you're sick of the summer heat like me. But like I said, 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. This goes from the 30th through the 3rd of September. But you know, what is it? Today is the August 25th. Below average temperatures has already moved into a good chunk of the country this morning already, and will be in place basically between now and August 30th. So this is actually extending further out. So if you live in the blue areas, you have a shot at below average temperatures. The bluer it is, the higher percent chance at below average temperatures. And the central to eastern U.S. looks to be the spot. Now, if you live deep down in Texas and Florida, going for around average, at least a chance at average temperatures or slightly above average temperatures. But I don't think you'll be awfully hot. But anyways, nice air mass in place if you're a fall weather fan. And what's wild about this is if we extend this even further out, from the 1st through the 7th of September, still calling for below average temperature chances in the areas in the blue. So the heart of the country into areas of the mid-Atlantic, the southeast, the mid-south. So it continues to go through, it pretty much clears the first week of September, guys. I mean, it just continues to get extended further and further out. So this is making me smile. I know not everybody is a cool weather fan, but like I've mentioned many times before, who doesn't like a nice cold front in late August, early September, right at the beginning of football season? To me, even though I know people are going to say it's not until September 21st, but to me, and I live in South Carolina, once it hits September 1st, it's fall. I'm done with summer. It doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees outside. To me, mentally, September 1st is the beginning of fall. So with that being said, let's keep on going. So I want to show you current conditions. So this cold front isn't on the way. I mean, for some people it is on the way, but for a lot of people it's already worked through. And you're not really feeling the effects of it yet. Sometimes the air mass behind these cold fronts sort of, there's kind of a lag effect, if you will. But for a lot of people, we're waking up, we're kick-starting our work week with nice temperature. So hopefully if you're not a big fan of Monday mornings, and a lot of people aren't, the weather conditions will help you feel a little bit better out there. But we're waking up to temperatures in the 40s and 50s across the Midwest, areas of the Ohio Valley, certainly the Great Lakes region. Even cooler mornings are ahead for some of these areas. But you know, I mean, even temperatures all the way into the 50s, all the way down to like the Cumberland Plateau. I mean, Nashville, you're sitting at around 60, 59, 58 degrees. This is not, the air mass has not quite made it to, say, Arkansas, northern Arkansas maybe, but like the deep south states, the southeast, I mean, the Carolinas, still waking up to 60s and 70s. So about your average late August morning. But you head on up the road, cooler air moving in. And another thing you'll look at here is dew points. What about the air mass? Everybody focuses so much on temperatures, but I would argue that your biggest focus needs to be on dew points this time of the year, because yeah, a cold front is going to knock down your high temperatures, like from 93, 94 degrees. I'm speaking of the south, to like the mid 80s. I mean, that's a, you know, almost a 10-degree difference. But you know, a lot of people will look at 85 degrees for a high and still think, well, I mean, that's not cool. But if you got 85 degrees with hardly no humidity, lower dew points, then you're going to feel a dramatic difference. And here it is. I mean, looking at dew points, best way to gauge how humid it is outside, not your humidity percentage, guys. And I'm not going to get deep into that again. I've been doing that a lot in the last several videos, but we'll leave it at that. Look at dew points. If you got dew points in the 60s and 70s, it's pretty humid outside. 70s, it's like tropical. It's awful. It's unbearable, right? You get dew points in the 50s and lower, you walk outside and you're like, okay, well, I don't feel much humidity at all. And I mean, that's the air mass we're starting to get. That's the air mass that's working into the country now. And you can almost see where the cold front is, or at least where the cutoff in the air mass is. And it's kind of stretching across this area. You know, you get south of this region, we got dew points in the 60s and 70s still, but you get north up in this region, dew points in the 50s, the 40s. I mean, this is sinking all the way down to northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, northern Georgia now. So this is allowing for temperatures to drop more. Your wet bulb temperature drops. This allows for your actual air temperature to drop. So, I mean, you got a nice dry air mass up here. So, I mean, it's just the signs that, you know, summer is coming to an end. The jet begins to dip down more on average. We're definitely not in full fall mode yet, but it's going to feel like it. And I'm telling you, some people might argue against this air mass on the way. It's not rare with how cool temperatures are going to get. I mean, we're not going to break a ton of records. I think some people will, but how long it's going to last, it to me is in rare territory. I would call it rare. But anyways, that's current conditions. Now, if we look at model guidance, we're going to look at the Euro, and same thing. We're going to look at dew points. Best way to gauge our air mass in place, right? So dew points in the 40s, 50s, we know is dry air now, right? Dew points in the 60s and 70s, humid air. So we take it into this evening. This drier air mass is starting to work now east of the Appalachian Mountains. And sometimes the mountains does kind of stunt the air mass because, I mean, land is quite literally elevated. And as the air mass kind of goes through that area, it kind of sometimes can lag the effects of a cold front, especially if it's diving in from the northwest. More so the west, it can kind of scoot south of the Apps, and it's a little different. But we'll dive into that another day. We wake up tomorrow morning, we got dew points down to the 50s. As far south as almost the Gulf coastline in the panhandle of Florida. And then listen, this sticks around. We get into Wednesday. We get into Thursday. You see the dew points in the 40s and the 50s. It looks kind of weird. We got kind of like a lingering air mass just around in place, and it sticks around. You think, okay, well, by the weekend, things will start to get humid again. And it probably will across the deep south states. But it almost looks like you have a reinforcing cold front. Another drop of dry air across the upper Midwest. And this kind of dives down based off what the Euro is saying. And by the time we get to the weekend, week one of college football, everybody's excited. Most people, I'm not going to assume everybody's sports fans. I know y'all, not everybody is. But who doesn't like a cold front and still dry, cooler air the first day of September, right? And we're getting into August 30th here. Still a very dry air mass in place. And we just keep this going. And I mean, look at these dew points dipping back down into the 50s, all the way down to Georgia. And it just keeps, I mean, we get between day 7 and 10, and the air mass is still hanging with us. And finally, after we get like several days into September, it looks like, and this could change, the air mass modifies and the humid air returns. You know, we're definitely not done with summer yet. We know that in the south. But you're counting down the days up here in the upper Midwest. As you have another cold front that sweeps through, and you can tell this is a cold front with the dry air around. And yeah, so, and listen, I'm going to show you when we kind of geek out with you about this pattern, how I do think that we're just going to get consistent cold fronts in the central to eastern U.S. for the foreseeable future, and the pattern supports it. But let's speak on the central and the eastern U.S. If you live in the eastern U.S., just jump ahead a couple minutes, but I don't want to leave my folks in the central U.S. hanging. You know, today, your high temperatures, look at this gradient here across southern Oklahoma. And I think a lot of this is driven off rain. There's a big area of rain that's going to be moving across these areas today, but your temperatures as far as highs in the upper 70s in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You get up into Oklahoma City, highs are only in the 60s and 70s. But you get north of this area, regardless of rain or clouds or just sunshine, 60s, 70s. I mean, it just feels like fall up here. Now, I know y'all's definition of fall weather is a little bit different, a little bit further north. It's probably the 40s and 50s. Us down here in the south, a nice fall day is temperatures in the 60s and 70s. But deep south hasn't quite made it. We go into high temperatures for tomorrow. We get a little break from the heat and all the way down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I mean, upper 80s, it's not bad. And then the air mass begins to modify. This is highs Wednesday across the middle of the country. This is Thursday. And it's getting hotter than Hades again across Texas. So it doesn't last long, but Maybe another push of some dry air allows for temperatures to drop again in northern Texas. So a little bit of a back and forth type thing across Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma. I mean, look, by this weekend, temperatures only in the low 80s across Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas. And it just remains nice up here in the upper Midwest. Now, some of this could be driven off rain. So that's something to monitor. But then we get into the first couple of days of September. It does warm back up, but listen, it's not that bad. Mid, upper 80s, I mean, that's not that bad for the first couple of days of September, right? So, I mean, it hangs with us, guys. It does. I mean, we get all the way out to September 4th. I mean, these are not bad temperatures for early September. It could be much worse. Now, we look at low temperatures. This is tomorrow's lows. Look at these 40s up here. I think we're going to get some upper 30s also. And then we start to get into Wednesday. You can see the air mass is really for the eastern U.S. at this point, and then we start to get a modification of the air mass, in the middle of the country. But this is lows Wednesday. This is the blend of all models, by the way. This is Thursday. This is Friday. Most of the cooler air kind of staying off to the north and east. But, I mean, lows in the 50s is nice across the middle of the country. Very, very comfortable. You can open your windows. Chilly up here in the upper Midwest. This is Saturday morning. I mean, Saturday morning game day. It's going to be chilly tailgating. That doesn't happen a whole lot. I mean, it's going to be some chilly tailgating up here across, the upper Midwest. I mean, heck, even across the Mid-South, you might need a light jacket in the 50s. But, we get into the morning of the 31st. This is low temperatures, the 1st, the 2nd. I mean, you just don't see a huge warm-up. And, now to look at the eastern U.S., this is highs for today. Still really warm down here, but not too bad. I mean, this really ain't bad at all, 80s, 90s. But then you get into Tuesday, and then here it comes, seeking to the south. I mean, you might not get out the 70s in Birmingham, Atlanta, Charlotte, Greenville, Spartanburg. And then we get into Wednesday. Check it out, high temperatures. And I know you might be thinking, 80s still in the south? I mean, that stinks. I mean, guys, it's late August. You can't expect highs in the low 70s and bright blue skies, right? So this is highs in the 80s, but with no humidity, though. Remember that. No humidity for the most part. Okay, and then we start to get into Thursday. We get into Friday. Little bit of a warm-up. But, I mean, the cooler temperatures stick around. Now, here's Saturday. SEC football. We all know that in ACC football, we all know that the first week of college football can be scalding hot. I mean, just brutally hot. I mean, even the first few Saturdays. But this Saturday, I mean, you're still going to be a little warm out there, but it ain't bad at all. These are predicted high temperatures off the blend of all models, and it's a great thing to look at here. And, I mean, you're not even seeing really any 90s except down here in Florida. So what else can you ask for? And, I mean, this is Sunday. This is Monday, September the 1st. Look at this. And this could be driven off a little bit of rain and cloud cover. But, man, it looks nice. I just can't get over it. And then we look at low temperatures, and we'll start to round this off. But this is lows tomorrow. Look at these 50s getting deep down into Tennessee. We're already seeing it this morning. And then look at Wednesday morning. I mean, somebody might hit the upper 40s in northern Alabama, maybe northern Mississippi. Certainly in the mountains. The southern Alps will definitely get scattered 40s. And listen, I even think Augusta, Columbia, down to Macon, I think we'll get some upper 50s sometime later this week. And, I mean, look at the air mass up here. I mean, chilly. You'll need a light jacket for the kids at the bus stop. I mean, to me, I love it. So nostalgic about a bus stop. I don't know. I'm big on nostalgia. But Thursday morning, this is what we're looking at. This is where I think we're going to get widespread 50s across the Carolinas and Georgia. Even though it says 62 for a low in Columbia, I think we're going to nip the upper 50s, which is pretty wild for late August. It happens, but it's not super common. Still some very chilly air also, yeah, in the upper Midwest. I mean, still lingering 50s across. And, I mean, this is Saturday morning. You out there tailgating? I mean, it's going to be chilly in the Northeast. The Ohio Valley, 40s and 50s. Nice, comfortable air across the Southeast. Man, I just can't get over it, guys. I'm excited. This is putting me in a good mood for a Monday morning. And then next Monday, you still just got a nice air mass. I mean, lows only in the 60s. It's just nice stuff coming, guys. Nice. So what's driving this pattern? So we look at the Euro ensemble. The blue is lower pressure. The warmer colors, that's higher pressure. So, for example, let's draw on this a little bit. This is a ridge. This is a trough, a dip in the jet. Lower pressure, that X is higher pressure. So normally when we get a big dip in the jet like this, it dives down like here, like that, okay? You got normally a big ridge flex across the western U.S. This causes the jet to really drop down, dislodges cold air from the north, and that's exactly what's happening. So with this, you got cold air kind of diving down on the backside of this trough. We don't always, a lot of people look at these big blue blobs and immediately think, okay, well, the coldest air is like right here. I mean, there's going to be some cooler air here, but this doesn't tell us what the temperatures are at the surface. This is just a 500 millibar pattern. This is 18,000 feet up in the air. But behind this is when the cool, drier air filters in, and that's exactly what's going to happen. That's what's happening right now. Cold front, moving in, right? So normally what happens is we don't have really any longevity to these kind of patterns. A trough dives in, and sweeps out. But I want you to watch how the trough almost reinforces itself right into here, continues to just stay anchored in place, and we can consistently have this ridge that's built over Canada, Western Canada, all the way up to Alaska. And this trough just continues. I mean, we get all the way into this weekend. You think, okay, the pattern's about to modify, and then here it comes. We almost get what you call a cross-polar flow, just a dump from the Arctic. And I'm not talking about an Arctic air mass where we're going to get teens, all the way down to the lower 48. But this is just a dump of cold air, just reinforcing shots of cool air. Now, this is pretty far out, 264 hours out. But, man, the pattern consistently, with a ridge flexing up here, allowing for cold air to dump down here. We talk a lot about this deeper in the winter. Continues to support troughing cold fronts into the central and eastern U.S. and consistent warmth in the west, unfortunately for you folks out west that don't like the warm air. And, I mean, we go all the way to the end of the run, and it continues to have that look. So, therefore, if we back this up and we look at temperatures responding to this trough, look at this. I mean, the blues and the greens, below average temperatures. Don't worry about how below average it is. But, I mean, you consistently get these below average temperatures until the lower 48. Now, it does modify a little bit, but look how the middle of the country begins to cool down deeper into September. So, I mean, it just hangs with us, guys. So, pretty wild stuff. I'm excited, as y'all can tell. Update on the tropics. Listen, the tropics are quieting down, and I'm not going to hype up something that ain't out there. There's no point in doing that. That's why I've, begin to focus a lot of my attention on this cold front. But it's a nice little break, a lull, and it honestly is matching up very well with the phase in place. We're losing our rising air phase that we had that, produced Aaron and a couple other systems and stuff like that. And we're starting to enter more of a sinking air phase that doesn't allow for as much tropical development. So this is a Fernand. Okay, Aaron's well off her screen now. Fernand's, a decently healthy low-end tropical storm. Not a whole lot going on in the MDR. Pretty quiet. Not a lot of convective activity. We had this low pressure to develop, and now it's moving up and bringing some much-needed rain into Nova Scotia now and areas of Atlantic Canada. We had this blow-up of convection right here. Not really dubbed anything, but we still have Invest 99L right here that continues to do its thing. But it's not really doing much of its thing anymore, I would say. Model guidance finally got it right, and it's really lost a lot of its convective activity, shower and storms. So we just honestly just have some storm activity just kind of chilling around. I mean, there's still something here, but the chances of this developing have dropped a ton now. So this thing held together for a while. You tip your cap to it. It went against what all model guidance was saying it was going to do for a long time, but now it's finally... It hit the graveyard. This area right here, let's circle it again. The graveyard of the Pacific is right. The graveyard of the Caribbean is right here. So it hit this area, and it just immediately gets shredded apart by trade winds. So, I mean, that's very common, especially with weak tropical systems. And there it is, 99L, 10% chance now to develop. So it's dropped considerably. And then we got Fernand as a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm, and there's nothing else out there. The next name is Gabrielle. So just to note that, and here's a little graphic on Tropical Storm Fernand. It's like I said, 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm. We'll go post-tropical by the middle of this week. And I do want to say, that low pressure developed off the eastern U.S. is bringing some much-needed rain to areas of Nova Scotia and more of Atlantic Canada here in the future. Prince Edward Island will get into this, Cape Breton Island, and eventually this will get to Newfoundland. So we need the rain. This is good to see. So just want to kind of show some love up here, and just to kind of show you what Model Guidance is saying on Invest 99L. It's not really saying anything at all, and just anything else that we're seeing. This is it right here. It just doesn't look much different than any other blobs of green and yellow you see on your screen, but it never really develops it. The one thing I would watch in the shorter term is homegrown activity. You're not going to get a whole lot going on in the Caribbean or way out in the main development region because of the phase in place. But if we're going to get any tropical development, I think over the next couple weeks, I really think it'll happen over the northern Gulf or off the coast of the southeast. It's because we got this frontal boundary that we just discussed like crazy. That's going to you're just going to get consistent frontal boundaries. It's going to drop down. We'll have an opportunity to pop off convection, shower and storm activity over the open waters of the Gulf Stream, northern Gulf, and you can sometimes get a quick spin up. And the Euro tries to do something like that here as we get into later in the next weekend into next week. This is September 1st. See how it develops a low pressure off the coast of the southeast. This is 1 week from right now. And then just kind of heads on up the eastern seaboard. And I'm not going to show the northeast because it's so far out. No point in taking it that serious. But, the pattern would support something like that. But we'll have to watch it. But anything else, there's nothing. GFS, what does it show? We got about 10 days worth of the GFS. Same thing, it doesn't really develop Invest 99L. But, as we move forward, look at this big blob of rain coming in for the northern Gulf and the deep south states as we get into the tail end of this coming weekend. And, hey, the GFS shows exactly what the Euro is showing. A quick developing tropical system off the coast of the Carolinas. And that actually moves inland as a weak tropical storm. So this is something we watch for. Is Model Guidance going to try to lock into something like this over the next few days? We'll have to see. We have to look at Ensemble Guidance too. And right now, Ensemble Guidance does not back up this. So, but I will say the GFS and the Euro show something like this. And then we get all the way to day 10, and that's about it. So if we do look at Ensemble Guidance, it does show a couple members developing something into here. But this goes all the way out to day 10. Shows a signal for a tropical wave trying to develop out here. But, if we look at the operational run, I think this is the tropical wave it's trying to pick up on, this low pressure. And this is 1 week from today. And this thing has way too much latitude to it to really be alarming looking. But, of course, we'll watch everything just like we always do. So that's it with the tropics. As far as today's weather, let's get this in motion. And big blob of moisture going across Kansas, Oklahoma. It's a very rainy start to our Monday morning down here. Flooding threat will be around. And then we got this low pressure that's just close enough to like Cape Cod to bring some rain. But we got much needed rain moving across New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, up into eastern Canada. So enjoy the rain. I know you guys have been very dry. Hopefully this will put a little dent in things. And look at this lake-enhanced stuff coming off Lake Michigan. Cooler air moving over the warmer bodies of water of the Great Lakes. So, just a sign that cooler air is starting to drop back down more and more. Whether you're a fan of it or not, it's inevitable, right? But that's today's weather. Watches and, that's right now's weather. Watches, warnings, and advisories. We got extreme heat warnings, red flag warnings, heat advisories up here in the Pacific Northwest. Some in the valleys of California too. And then we got scattered flood watches in the green, some dense fog in PA. And just unfortunately, you guys that do not like the heat in the western U.S., you guys are getting punished for you guys are just getting the raw end of the deal, I would say. Excuse me, because the central and eastern U.S. are getting all the cooler air while y'all get all the warmth. So, as far as today's risk of severe weather, not much of it. We'll watch for a risk of severe weather across southern Arizona. A lot of thunderstorm activity across the Rockies and some across the southeast coastline, Gulf coastline in Florida. And then with a cold front moving across the northeast, we'll get a risk of thunderstorms across these areas too. But the risk of excessive rainfall, flooding, we'll watch out for Oklahoma and Arkansas. We'll watch out for Colorado, New Mexico, and Southern California and Southern Arizona for a flash flooding risk. 15% risk of flash flooding. Now, if you look at the southeast today, cold front moving in. The only area that will get widespread thunderstorm activity is the peninsula of Florida, more than likely, but could get some thunderstorms in the eastern sections of the Carolinas and Georgia. But I wouldn't expect anything too crazy out of any of this. But you look at the northeast, low pressure riding offshore. A lot of thunderstorm development across Maine. So get ready for a stormy afternoon if you live up here. But these will move in and move out, and then the cooler air will follow, and that'll certainly dry out the air mass. But the south central U.S., big plume of rain moving in. This will continue and actually re-strengthen probably later this evening across southern Oklahoma, central Arkansas, and right here with Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico all come together. A lot of rain, and this will just continue all the way into tomorrow. As basically this cold front is, dive down into the eastern U.S., where we have kind of this just a slowed down boundary in place right in here. This is allowing just for rain to sort of go over the same areas over and over again. And this is how much rain could go fall between now and tomorrow evening. A few inches of rain is possible. So be aware of this. North central U.S., this is what you're looking like. Not a whole lot of anything, pretty quiet. Western U.S., a lot of rain rotating around. Look at all this rain and storm activity. Sheesh, it's a lot. But this is good to see. We need the rain out here. We can go through some awful dry stretches. We did over the summer. So seeing this rain is good. We're definitely getting a lot of it. It's just spinning around, plumes of moisture. And we look how much rainfall could happen between now and about 6 p.m. tomorrow. And a healthy amount of rain for everybody. So temperatures is what we're looking at. It'll be one last really warm day across the southeast, deep south before the cold front really brings that air mass in. But it's nice. Of course, across the Ohio Valley, the upper Midwest, nice fall-like conditions. And then out west, not quite as cool. We got warmer conditions with all these heat alerts. So. All right, let's use this as our timestamp and let's do our Bible devotion. Let's read this morning. We are in Mark chapter 10, verse 17 through 22. Mark chapter 10, verse 17 through 22. So it says, as he was setting out on a journey, a man ran up. And we're talking about Jesus. As he was setting out on a journey, a man ran up, knelt down before him, and asked him, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "Why do you call me good?" Jesus asked him. "No one is good except God alone. You know the commandments. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not bear false witness. Do not defraud. Honor your father and mother." Turn this page. He said to him, Teacher, I have kept all these from my youth." Looking at him, Jesus loved him and said to him, "You lack one thing. Go, sell all you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." But he was dismayed by this demand, and he went away grieving because he had many possessions. So, I'm sure many have heard this story in the Bible. It's good. It's really good. I'm going to keep this open. So I wrote down a couple things. I said, note that the ruler desires something more than worldly things. I think that's one thing to note is he had, I guess you can say, a good nagging at his soul that there was something more that he wanted, that he needed. And I think that speaks a lot to a lot of people out there that are very wealthy, but also lost. They're still missing something. They're still missing something. Only God is truly good. It does mention that too. I also want to mention, and I didn't write this in my notes, that it says, looking at him, Jesus loved him and said to him. I think it's, and we had a sermon on this Sunday. This is what kind of inspired me to do this devotion. I think that caught my attention. It said Jesus loved him. Of course, Jesus loves us all. But it's almost like it's almost like Jesus was in that time, he was excited in a way, almost that someone was eager to follow him. But it leads up to, of course, the next things that were said. But the issues reflect to the surface when Jesus tells him to give up his wealth to the poor. In the end, the ruler is sad and not willing to let go of his worldly things and follow Jesus. His choice demonstrates lack of faith. This scripture highlights the importance of keeping Christ number one in everything you do, which means if you are being called to do something that will make you have to sacrifice worldly things, then you do it. Do not let things of this world consume you. They will distract you from what is really important. Seek and follow Christ regardless of the cost. This speaks to everybody, guys. This is tough. It's tough because we're surrounded by worldly things. Listen, and sometimes we think that we're doing good. And we get so caught up in, I know I always do this, guys, but I don't have a problem with making myself vulnerable to everybody. But I can speak in my example, and hopefully this can maybe relate to you guys and something else that you got going on in your own life. For me, it's this channel. It's this channel, absolutely, is not a weak spot for me, but sometimes it is a tough balance. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, this channel is just kind of a worldly thing. I mean, having a YouTube channel, this is just worldly. And when I gain from it, it really is worldly. Now, not everything, of course. Now, I think God is working through that. I know God's working through this channel. Hopefully we're making a difference. I don't want to assume we are, but, with the prayer and these devotions and just, acting out our faith and stuff like that. But, sometimes, when the growth is really there and things are popping off and, like over the last couple weeks, sometimes you have to, when things are going crazy, I have to figure out the balance of, okay, I need to figure out a way to not get consumed by this and not get distracted by this, and make sure at the same time I'm not doing that, but making God the number one priority in what I'm doing here. And it's a tough balance. And, the channel is a good thing. Me and my family have been really blessed for it, with it, but it's also a slippery slope. I gotta be careful. I keep saying y'all gotta be careful. I gotta be careful with it. So that's just my example. And, I think it goes back to what we talk about a lot. You always got to self-check yourself, self-check your motives, why you do what you do. And, you reevaluate things. Are you making God number one in things? Like, one thing I probably could do is make these devotions right at the beginning of the video, so people who click on it see it right off the dot. I'm always thinking of certain things. But anyways, I guess getting back to scripture there, don't get consumed by worldly things. Don't let worldly things change who you are too. If you're a certain way beforehand and you're following Christ, you're doing all the right things, and then all of a sudden something blows up in your life and puts you at a higher position in life and you change, of course, that's really alarming. But just don't. I think the thing with that is, don't let worldly things consume you. And more importantly, if God is calling you in a direction in your life, speaking to you, speaking loud and clear, you can feel it in your soul and your heart and everything that you got, that you're supposed to go in one direction, and worldly things is making you really not want to go in that direction, so you're going to go in the other direction, then that's a problem. That's a problem. And you got to follow Christ. If God spoke to me loud and clear and said, Mitch, I want you to stop doing this YouTube channel, and I want you to pursue this in your life, I would stop doing this YouTube channel. Now, some people might be listening and saying, there's no way. And I would say, God, test me right now. But my thoughts are, if I'm being honest, I don't want God to do that, because I love doing this. But if God called me to do something else, I would have faith and I would trust in Him to where He's calling me to go. is exactly where I'm supposed to go, and it is. So, just get out your, it goes, I say this all the time. Everything connects so much. It goes back to what we talk about, your comfort zone. Got to get out your comfort zone. That young ruler, he didn't want to give up all that stuff. He's very comfortable being rich. He didn't want to give all his stuff away. So he was eager. Something was, I think, nagging at his soul for something more. I think Jesus saw that, was very excited, but ultimately his faith was tested and he chose the worldly things. So, that nagging at your soul's there. That's Jesus calling for you. So, I could get so deep into this. I could get into some touchy subjects with this, but I'm gonna not do that. But we'll leave it at that. I hope that helps. God bless all y'all. Appreciate the heck out of y'all. And thank you for everything. Things are slow right now, so no evening videos for the foreseeable future. But I'm sure here in the coming weeks, we'll get right back at it and we'll be full speed ahead. God bless y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again tomorrow morning.